Hello, beautiful beings, and welcome to the podcast episode of today. So today is an encore episode because I am going on maternity leave. I have hand-selected with my assistant Shania, we've hand-selected episodes that we think will be like just honestly your favorite. They're episodes that have either gotten really bad, really great feedback, or have been shared a lot amongst you guys, or have been shared a lot on socials and reshared on stories. So we thought, we'd bring back kind of the top favorites, or the ones that resonated the most with you guys. So I'm going on just the podcast is going on 3 weeks of maternity leave. I am going on 4 months of maternity leave. But fear not, fret not, I have created an entire back catalogue. So after these 3 weeks of encore episodes, you will be receiving your normal dose of a Monday episode and a head noise episode, and also some really cool mini series scattered throughout up until the end of the year. And then I will come back for regular programming mid-January after kind of the Christmas break. So without fucking around any further, enjoy the episode, the encore episode of today. Love you guys so much. The episode is all about being unbothered and thriving. It's your unbothered/thriving era. I'm going to go through 5 things that I want you to focus on to become less bothered. I'm going to give you exactly what I mean by bothered. I'm going to talk about what it's like when you become unbothered versus when you are very bothered, okay? And all the things that can actually, the positive things that can come of it when you start to kind of release a little bit of control, when you start to release the need to attach yourself to things that probably aren't the healthiest thing to attach yourself to. So there'll be 5 points. I'll be diving deep. It's going to be a great fucking time. Let's go straight into the podcast topic of today, because there's a lot that I kind of want to impart onto you and to get you inspired for your year of being unbothered and thriving. Now, it's really funny because I was talking to my best friend Liv, and she said to me, and I'd already planned out this episode. I had all my notes, and I've been planning this episode for a little bit, just kind of like revisiting the doc, and just I kept adding notes to it. And Liv the other day said to me, she goes, you know what? I've got one word that I'm going to really lean into this year. And it's going to be kind of like my mantra for the year. And that is unbothered. And I'm like, you know what? We're on the fucking same wavelength, babe, because I'm currently doing an episode about unbothered. She's like, stop. I can't wait to hear it. So let's dive straight in. I don't have a brain fact today. I'm so sorry. I know I should for the first normal episode back of the year, but alas, here we are. Okay, so the first thing is, what does unbothered look like? Because by the end of this episode, I want these things to be part of your life, part of your year, okay? So it is not letting things get to you, things that don't need to get to you, not letting them get to you. It looks like being able to brush something off that did affect you, being able to process it more so in the moment instead of letting it fester, and moving on without it weighing you down. Even if it's still something that's happening, even if it's something that you can't solve, it's being able to be like, all right, this is a thing, I've acknowledged it, I'm processing it, but I'm not going to let it ruin my day. So it's not about not giving a fuck, it's not about not caring, it's about not letting things bother you past the point of necessities, okay? It is having no need or no desire to get someone to do something for you and then feeling like you've been let down if they haven't done it for you, because you are minding your own business. A big part of being unbothered is really learning to mind your own business. When you take care of your shit, you're less bothered about what people are doing with their shit. And this kind of ties into what Mel Robbins, if you listen to Mel Robbins, great podcast. She's just a legend in general, great books. But she talks about this let them theory. You feel so much better instead of like, why am I here trying to control someone to do something to make me feel like, this is a valid relationship, whether it's a friendship or romantically. I need to let this person be. And if I let this person be, then I'm going to be able to make a much better judgment on how I want to navigate this moving forward. Do I want this person in my life? And if they are in my life, I'm able to have much better expectations of what I can expect for them and what I can't. Being unbothered is acknowledging that and realizing that you ultimately cannot control someone else's behavior. So the best thing you can do is learn what their real behaviors are and then decide what you're going to do about it. And then become really unbothered, because you're like, I'm dealing with my shit. I'm going to focus on my fucking shit. You focus on your turd, all right? The next thing is is it's going where the energy is and not pushing against where energy is not. One of the biggest disservices that we can do to ourselves is trying to get someone to see us for who we are, trying to get someone to like us, trying to prove our worth, when meanwhile there's probably a lot of pockets or areas in our life where your worth is being realized, but you're not leaning into it, you're not aware of it, you're focusing on something else, so you're feeling pretty low about yourself or shit about yourself. It's a blow to your self-esteem. So I feel like this is one of the areas that this year I really want you to focus on. It's like I need to lean into areas where the good energy is. And if I find myself trying to prove to someone that I'm good enough or prove to someone that I'm worth it, this is where I need to really pull back, because that is a leech. It is a leech of your energy. It's a leech of your the goodness that you can bring into your relationship with yourself. It's a leech of your feel-good neurochemicals. It's not fucking worth it. If you're sitting here trying to convince someone that you're good enough, you are wasting your time, okay? Because if someone can't see it, it doesn't make them a bad person, but they just value things differently to what you do. Like sometimes I look back when I used to date and I would, fall head of, obviously limerence, but I'd be like head over heels over someone and they'd just be like, meh, towards me. But I'd be like really fighting it, like really trying to get them to see me in the best light, to the extent that I'd try and like pretend to like things that they like, or pretend to like have the same humor as them, to be like, I need them to see me in the best light possible for them to really like me. But what ends up happening is that I'm putting across a version of myself that's not really that great. It's not really like me. And also I'm expecting them to value things that I value. I'm expecting them to think that what's good in a person or what is valuable in a partner is what I see as good and valuable in a partner. The fact that they didn't quote unquote see my worth doesn't make them a bad person. It just doesn't make us the appropriate match. Okay? Someone's not going to see your worth because what you have to offer is not what they value. That doesn't make them a bad person, and it definitely doesn't make you a bad person. But I've gone on a tangent, but that's super important when it comes to being unbothered. It's like, I don't need to make you feel a certain way. That's not my fucking job. Okay? The next thing is being able to dismiss things that are not directly related to you. How often do we ponder and fester on something that it's like, if you really thought about it, it's like, wait a minute. If I was to step back, this is not actually directly related to me. Why am I working myself up about this? And like I've mentioned before, like attracts like. It is very easy to work yourself up about anything. We don't need to do that, okay? And then the last one, being unbothered, looks like being able to switch to problem-solving mode a lot faster and spending less time in emotional melting down mode. Now, I'm going to talk about the importance of feeling your emotions later on in this episode because that's crucial. But I think it's really important to realize that so much of being unbothered, it's not about avoiding, not caring, not paying attention. It's thinking, what do I have control over? What don't I have control over? Now let's work with what I've got. And if I don't have that, it's about accepting and redirecting. That's what being unbothered is. It's got nothing to do with disrespect or dismissing or not giving a flying fuck. Okay. Now, the beauty of it is that all of what I just said is available to you. It might take a little bit longer if you're someone that's like, yeah, but I get flustered really fucking easy. It's fine. We are training our brains at the end of the day. You are looking at your brain as a muscle to be trained. If you're someone that says, oh, but no, I fly off the handlebars too easily, but things set me off so easily, road rage drives me insane, that's fine. We've now acknowledged our starting point. There's nothing wrong with that. The best thing that you can do is be aware. There's nothing more attractive than someone who's self-aware. And then once you're self-aware, then you take the next step to say, what can I do about this? Okay? So if you're someone that says, well, this is going to be a big journey for me, it doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't matter. It's a journey and you can start that journey today. And the brain can be trained no matter where you are starting from. It's easier for some people than others, but we're not here to compare our journey to other people's journeys. You're on your own fucking journey right now. Now, what is bothered? And then I'm going to go into all the points. So this is where things affect you. This is where things affect your mood, where things cause you to be anxious It's overthinking, it's catastrophizing, it's mind reading and thinking of the worst case scenario when you do try and read someone's mind and think what they're thinking and the humiliation, the embarrassment, oh my God. It's fear of missing out. FOMO is bothered. FOMO is like a crazy example of bothered, okay? It's regret, fearing if you've made the wrong decision, fear of what people will think. That's being bothered, okay? I'm very fucking bothered right now. It's annoyed. It's someone getting on your nerves. It's things pissing you off unnecessarily where you just are irritated and irritable. It's feeling rattled, agitated, all of the above. That's what bothered, okay? It's also thinking about your mistakes of the past, thinking about how embarrassing something was or how embarrassing something could be, so it's going to stop you from doing something. It's everything that's going to ultimately make you slow down or pause or hold yourself back, okay? And it's also going to make you feel shit. So if you're wondering what does kind of bothered feel like, that's what I'm referring to. Now, mind you, I just want to make something very clear. I'm not referring to bothered about caring about someone or something or putting effort in. That's very different. This is not a plight to get everyone to not give a fuck about anything. It is, me caring about something is not about being bothered or unbothered, okay? I'm talking about things that are negatively affecting us in our life that we can actually afford to get rid of. Being unbothered should also never directly impact someone else's well-being. So it shouldn't be a quest to become as selfish as possible and not factor in the people that are closest to us in our lives, where it's important that we, give, because in order to have healthy relationships, we have to give as much as we want to receive, all right? So when you're talking about being unbothered, it's not about, now I'm just going to live for me. I'm going to do everything for myself and my partner can basically get fucked or my housemates can get fucked or my family can be the ones caught. Obviously, I think if you, that goes without saying, but I thought I'd just quickly address it just in case because, in case I didn't make myself clear. Now, the one thing that you do have crazy control over, whether you've got control over it yet or whether you're going to have control over it, is your emotions and how you express your emotions, more importantly. Because you might not have direct control over the initial emotion that you feel, but what you do have control over is what you do after that and how you express yourself after that. That's what we're focusing on because there is nothing wrong. If anything, it's great that we feel the entire spectrum of emotions that's available out there. That's what makes us human. That's what makes you who you are, okay? So what your focus is not, I don't want to feel anxious. I never want to feel stressed because that's actually going to exacerbate the problem. If you think, oh my God, I'm flawed because I'm feeling these things, it's not a good thing. So instead, you're going to think, I can feel everything I want to feel. I'm not here to block these feelings. I'm here to acknowledge that feeling in the moment and say, is this useful? Is it not? And regardless if it is or not, how am I going to express myself? What am I going to do with this moving forward? And yes, at the moment, in the beginning, it's going to feel like a lot of work because you are very aware, but that becomes second nature and subconscious very quickly. Very quickly. The more consistent you are, the faster it becomes a subconscious process. The more inconsistent you are, it's just going to take a bit longer, but it still can become a subconscious process if you do it regularly enough. Now, let's get into it. The first thing that I want you to focus on is, number one, mastering the art of detachment. That is the first thing we're going to be talking about in the next 5, out of these 5 points, okay? So this is learning to stop attaching yourself to shit unnecessarily, okay? You don't want to be making a storm in a paper cup, and we do this all the time. I do it. I like to think that I do it a lot less, but when I'm aware of attaching myself and detaching myself, I can almost instantly snap myself out of a spiral of something if I think, Alexis, you are attaching yourself to something that you don't need to be attaching yourself. That interception of your logic into your emotions does wonders. I've spoken about this on the podcast. I've done TikToks on this. I've done whatever. But the idea of name it to tame it will really help you in this detachment. And name it to tame it is simply you name what you're feeling in the moment. Now, it sounds very basic because it is, but what's actually happening in the brain when you name it to tame it is you are feeling an emotion. That's very emotional, midbrain, primitive. It's like, I need to, protect myself or retreat or whatever. I have a visceral emotion, number one, okay? Number two, you name it. When you name it, you switch the dominant region of the brain that is paying attention to this stimulus. So for example, if you're feeling scared about something or insecure about something, you're sitting in your emotions, it feels very intense, feels awful, anxious, and then you name it. That is your prefrontal cortex. It's the reasoning part of the brain. It's the executive function kind of the brain. And you kick it into action. The moment you kick that part of the brain into action, your reasoning, it starts to calm down the other part of the brain. So while that stimulus is still there, while that thing that made you feel stressed or fearful may still be there, the way you perceive it instantly begins to settle down to an extent. For some people, it's massive. For other people, it takes the edge off. But it's worth doing because that is one of the first ways that you can really master the art of detachment. You want to name it, bring your conscious awareness into it so you're able to talk yourself down off that ledge and be like, all right. And then you want to ask yourself, do I need to be attached to this thing? Is this a need? Because this is a need. We're on a need by need basis right now when we're talking about becoming unbothered. All right. Now, I also want you to learn to reason your way out of something. Reasoning is your ticket out of feeling attached or bothered about something, okay? Because it is pulling yourself out of this reactive emotional state and bringing yourself into a proactive, problem-solving, logical state. Now, emotions are very important. That's why we want to work with both. I'm not saying switch off emotions. I'm saying let's work with what we've got and let's get them both working together as a team within your brain, okay? Now, detachment does not mean indifference. It means freeing yourself from the need to control people, freeing yourself from the need to control outcomes and situations. It is realizing that when you are clinging to expectations, you will often be let down, or it will lead to stress. It will lead to you waiting and putting yourself on hold or on pause for something else to occur. When you are attaching yourself to an outcome, you're probably not really enjoying the journey that much. It takes you out of the present moment and it puts you somewhere in the future, which may be causing you stress or anxiety, or it may be causing tension within a relationship, okay? So you can practice this by, number one, name it, tame it, of course. And then the other one is using affirmations like, I can release the need to control what I cannot control, okay? If it's not in my control, it's not in my control. Certain things like that. And it sounds basic, but again, that's your logic mind talking to your emotional centers, all right? Now, regulating your emotions by doing this actually helps you regulate your emotions even more. So what I mean by that is like attracts like. The first time you do it, you think, for example, I did a TikTok talking about name it to tame it. And someone comments being like, well, I listened to this TikTok and I tried it. It didn't work for me. And I'm like, all right, well, firstly, not everything that I say is going to work for absolutely everyone. Let that be clear. I'm not some guru. I'm trying to give suggestions for how people can live their life, and it's not going to work for everyone, number one. Number two, doing something once. It's like me calling up my PT after first of a session saying, I don't have abs, doesn't work for me, and hanging up. You got to do something several times over. So as you regulate the first time, you might notice a difference, you might not. You regulate again. You start teaching your brain how to regulate to the extent that you teach it well enough that it does it automatically. Okay? So the more you regulate, the more you regulate. Okay? You go from a conscious effort to subconscious processes, right? The next thing I want you to do, we're still sticking to step one, is I want you to identify normal triggers and preempt them so you can kind of nip it in the bud. If I know that something is going to be like a trigger or something is going to set me off, then going into it, knowing it, actually makes it easier for you to be prepared and do something about it. For example, if you're someone that has crazy road rage, if you were to say before you get in the car, today is not the day, I'm not the fucking one, I'm going to prioritize my peace of mind. Things are going to happen on the road that I can't control. There are going to be morons on the road. That is a given. I know this. So I need to settle myself before I get in the car, right? And then just that is enough to prime yourself, because you now set yourself being like, I know that this is a possibility. If something is likely to set you off, then you need to learn how to preempt it, so that way you can do something about it before it sets you off. If someone normally pisses me off, with how they talk, before I interact with them, I can say, okay, just settle, just take a big breath in. It annoys you for these reasons. Exhale. I know I can't control it, and I'm just going to go in. Just the conscious awareness of it, I can guarantee you, will help you, prevent you from flying off the handlebars. Because once you do fly off the handlebars, that's when it is a lot harder to bring yourself back down. It's very possible, but it just requires more effort, and it feels like it's more of an emotional kind of journey to do so. Now, before I go into the next point, I do want to emphasize that feeling your emotions is extremely important. However, if you are angry, that is not you feeling your emotions. Anger is a secondary emotion. So when you are feeling angry, that is you avoiding another underlying emotion. So if you feel anger coming on, I want you to pause and think, all right, what's the actual emotion that is underlying? And I'm allowed to feel that, but anger is me avoiding. Am I feeling abandoned? Am I feeling hurt, humiliated? Am I scared? Am I anxious? There's so many things that could, am I frustrated? I want you to acknowledge what the underlying feeling is that's causing you to have this angry outburst, because feelings should be felt, but anger is not you feeling your feelings, right? That is why, in my opinion, a lot of men who don't address their emotions have angry outbursts, but then they call women emotional, okay? Anyway, number two is master the pause. So the importance of a pause, the significance of a pause, this is going to transform your life. And all you have to do is, before reacting, before saying anything, you pause and you take one breath. That moment of the will change how you respond to that situation, to that stimulus. At the start, it's going to be like, I'm holding myself back, I'm holding myself. And then the more you do it, you start to think, I'm taking this regulating breath. I spoke about it, I don't know how long ago it was, not that long ago, about the importance of a sigh and how that regulates your nervous system. That pause, ideally mixed with a nice deep breath, or in conjunction with a nice deep breath, will actually help you regulate how you're feeling and respond appropriately, instead of snapping, saying something you're going to regret, or start to mind read and start to spiral, and then you just, you're not actually present in the moment. You start to catastrophize what someone's thinking about you and this and that. You just pause, take a deep breath, you regulate your nervous system, just like dogs do when they're about to go to bed, and take a really big sigh. And then you're able to be like, all right, I can approach this with where I've switched modes. You are actually switching modes with that pause and a breath. You are switching modes. You go from reactive to proactive. It is so quick. It is so easy. And it is probably the fastest out of the points that I'm saying. It is the quickest and probably the most effective way to become unbothered. The pause and the breath. It is a game changer. So use it as often as you want. And it's free, okay? It's fucking free. We can all do it. Number 3 is rewire through self-talk, okay? So how you speak to yourself will determine how you feel, and then how you feel is going to determine how you act and how you behave in your natural environment, okay? So we want to be replacing these things, these statements to ourselves, with something that's a little bit more empowering, or where you feel like you have a little bit more control over yourself. Because remember, being unbothered is about minding your own fucking business, not worrying about what other people are doing. Because the moment you start worrying about what other people are doing, you're worrying about something that's not within your control, and then you're going to get really stressed out, okay? So I want you to, have statements that you're going to replace. So if you're saying, I can't believe this is happening to me, I can't believe this is happening to me, you instead could be like, I wonder what I'm going to learn from this. Or you could instead be like, I've gone through something similar and I came out the other end. Or last time this happened, this is how I dealt with it. Okay? Because if you're saying, I can't believe this is happening to me, you're basically saying, I'm actually in control of everything, and this is actually a shock that something that's not in my control is happening to me. I can believe this is happening to me because life is unpredictable. Given that, I also can believe that I'm pretty resourceful and I'm pretty resilient. So I'm going to see how I'm interested to see how I can turn this situation around. Okay. So there's many things that you can say. That's not like woohoo. Oh my God, I'm I'm unscathed. Nothing's hurting me. You can approach this very differently, but it's still dealing with the fact that something is happening to you. When something, happens to you or when you fail at something, you can say, or a breakup or whatever, you could say, I've handled this, or I've handled worse, or I've come out of something like this before. I can come out of this again. If anything, it'll be easier for me to come out of it this time because I've done it a couple of times before. All right? I also want you to look at journaling prompts as well, if that helps you. I think journaling prompts are really good because it sets you up for the day. It kind of gives you like an overall theme to think about for the day. I always talk about priming yourself for the day, whether that be physically or emotionally or mentally. So writing something down, ideally physically writing something down. There's something that's just special about pen to paper, physically doing it, where it's a statement where you could be like, how can I be kinder to myself today? Or how can I show myself patience today? Or where can I prioritize my peace of mind today? Okay, things like that. Now, another thing that you can say, and I say this to myself quite often, this is a statement that I say to myself very, very often, and it really helps me. And that is, if I can't control it, at least I'm not going to let it control me. And that has helped me through so many situations because I think this is happening to me. But unfortunately, or fortunately, it's only up to me to decide how I proceed. I can't stop that things from happening. There's so many things that are not in my control. So I can't stop a moving train. But I can have some level of input into how much that thing is going to control me, because I have to decide where I'm going to go and what I'm going to do in response to this thing. Or if I'm not going to give it any airtime at all, I can either respond to it or remove myself from the situation altogether. So I say, if I can't control it, at least I won't let it control me. Use it, abuse it, use it as much as you like. I love it. Number 4 is create an emotional toolkit, basically. So basically, this is a toolkit that is going to help you, and I've spoken about this before. It's going to help you basically turn things around in that moment. It's kind of a way, once you've done what you need to do, like I've addressed this thing, I'm not going to be bothered by it, I'm not going to try and control something I can't control. Now I need to pivot. I need to pivot to get myself into a good mood. So this could be, like I said, statements for yourself, affirmations, whatever. They're good pivots. But stronger pivots are going to be things like, music is a really good one. Something that's going to, bring on a strong positive emotion. So you've got to have one playlist that's kind of like your amp up playlist. It's like, all right, I've pivoted, whatever. Now I'm going to listen to this music that always empowers me. Or I'm going to read over, I've got a folder in my phone and it's screenshots of either beautiful messages that you guys have sent me or that like my friends and family have sent me. But like things that when I read, I'm like, oh, I feel so like grateful and loved and loving and all of that. It's a really nice feeling. So that could be one of those things. It could be a little like folder of photos that when you look at them, whether it's vision board photos or whether it's photos of your life, where it's just images of things that make you feel good about yourself. All right. So that is this emotional toolkit. It's once we've identified the emotion, once we've done what we need to do to get in control, to be a bit more logical about it, then we want to have this pivot to pivot us into a better feeling state. That's huge, and it accelerates the process so much faster. Okay. Now, the last one is I want you to, and this is huge in being unbothered, and it sounds pretty basic, but it's so fucking important. And from now on, every single day in the morning, at the start of the day, at some point, I want you to say, I'm going to prioritize micro joy moments. So this is where I'm really going to lean in. There are so many times in the day where good, funny, happy things are happening, but we might just skim over them completely. because our mind is somewhere else and we're being bothered about something that we actually cannot control. All right? So I want you to really lean into these tiny, tiny moments instead of always having your mind being like, but the ultimate goal is there. That's the end goal. That's the end goal. Do you know how much you step over completely when you're focusing too heavily in your future about the end goal and this thing has to happen? So much. Okay. And weirdly enough, when I zoom in, or not even zoom in, but when I am way more present and I'm focusing on, these like pockets of funny or joyful or adorable moments, when I get home and instead of just patting my dog on the head, but if I just sit down on the floor and I like really spend time and I don't have my phone on me and I'm just really present in that moment, these are micro joy moments. I instantly get this surge of feel good emotions. If I'm on the phone to someone, I try and, if possible, obviously within reason, I'll sometimes try and be like, well, I'm not going to be looking up other things on my phone or doing something else. I'm just going to sit and have the phone there and have a nice conversation, lean into this beautiful moment. I'm going to, when funny things happen, lean into that funny thing and really kind of, be in that moment when it's happening. So, it's basically, in a nutshell, about being more present, but it is when something makes you smile, when something makes you laugh, when these things happen, try and write it down. And try and write it down, if possible, in the moment, but if not, you can do it kind of at the end of the day. And it's a list of joyful moments. And what that does is that the next time you experience that moment, because you wrote it down, it reminds you of what it made you feel the last time. So you're more likely to lean into it this time to generate the same kind of feeling. All right. You become a person who's really big on these micro joy moments. And when you are in these moments, you're releasing all these feel-good neurochemicals. You're releasing dopamine, you're releasing serotonin, you're releasing oxytocin, you're feeling connected, you feel elated. And then, of course, when you feel that way, this chemical reaction in your brain is actually influencing how you perceive and feel about other things in your day. It puts shit into perspective and you're able to zoom out. Like the times that I've gone through really hard things in my life, if I've festered alone at home and I've been processing this really difficult thing, it feels like it is all consuming and it's taking over my life, right? But then when I go and hang out with my family in the midst of, this intense thing that I'm going through, if I go and hang out with my family and then we start playing games or doing puzzles or laughing or talking about things and joking, I can then think back about that stressor and think, oh my God, it's almost like it's shrunk. It still exists, but in such a short amount of time, I've shrunk it down. And the reason it's shrunk is because when put into perspective, when thrown in with all the other joyful things within your life that you can create and that can happen to you, it still exists, but it's not taking over my life. It is this pocket here, but there's all these other pockets here. And I'm able to take from all these other areas in my life. A big mistake that we make, myself included, is that when something bad happens, and unless it goes unchecked, obviously I check in and I do these things and it works every time. But when it goes unchecked is you can then sit and this can grow and grow and grow into something that feels that you can't overcome it. So leaning into these micro joy moments actually helps you put things back into a bit of a perspective. It allows you to see that there's, a lot of contrast in our life, but we can be leaning more heavily into the things that make us feel good and that are good, and not so heavily into the things that are overbearing and making us feel really weighed down and bothered and stressed. Okay. So let's go over the 5 things again. So you can fucking lean into or enter your unbothered and thriving era in this life. So number 1, it is mastering the art of detachment. Number 2, master the pause and, of course, the big sigh. Number 3, rewire through self-talk. Number 4, create your emotional toolkit. And number 5, prioritize micro joy moments. Guys, that is the podcast episode for today. Hopefully, even if you take one of those things on board, I think you're going to feel good. You're going to feel fabulous. You're going to start noticing a change. You can go from someone who is highly strung and flustered to unbothered queen. Okay. That is all for today. Thank you so much for listening. I need to see you guys at my live show. I'm so excited. Anyway, I'm just feeling on top of the world. That is all for today. As always, remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to your brain. Don't take shit from anyone, and especially don't take shit from yourself. Danke.